Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your host for today's episode. And today I have Oksana Malysheva, CEO and managing partner of Sputnik ATX VC, as my guest. We're going to be learning about her business, her journey to business ownership, challenges that she's faced, and some best practices that she has to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Oksana. It's so nice to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
So nice to be here. Thank you so much, Kay, for this interview as well as everything else you're doing to spotlight entrepreneurship.
Of course. Well, thank you. And before we dive into all things business, I'd love to share a little bit about you. So feel free to share a bit about yourself.
Well, listen, as a woman operating in the world of VCs, first of all, like there are not that many of us, even though Austin boasts quite a few really remarkable people. But my journey to be here is, I sometimes joke, had been an accidental. I've teased myself as being an accidental VC because for the girl that was born in Kyiv, Ukraine, and trained as a PhD physicist, this is an unusual career path. That being said, like I think I really love, like we could talk about what my business, Sputnik ATX VC, does, but as venture capitalists, we live 10 years in the future, and being trained in unpredictable fundamental questions that physics trains you for and kind of followed up with some business, while it was not a predicted way to be here, this was a really great path. I like to mention that because a lot of little girls have this belief that they have to know precisely where the world will lead them and what kind of business they will be part of or create when they're very, very young. And trust me, my 20-year-old self would have been of exactly that mindset. And in my wildest dreams, I could not have guessed this. Texas venture capitalist, growing up when capitalism was a dirty word. So, but I think the universe sometimes is smarter than you, and it gives you the experience that let you build something when you may not necessarily predicting that you will need that.
100%. You hit it on the like nail on the head, especially, it really resonates with me, and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners is, I'm also a woman in business in an industry that there's not as many of us. And so I think that's it's so powerful. And then, like you said, the universe calls you to where you're meant to be. So I'm excited to learn more about what you do and how you got into it. So let's dive in. How did you end up in VC?
Um, the journey was a set of somewhat random but very predictable steps because, like, if I were to highlight what I've done prior to being here, as I said, PhD in physics, McKinsey, New York, was part leading marketing strategy at Motorola at the time of Razr, was a senior director there when the brand was taking up, have done a lot of private equity investment and turnarounds. These seem to be, I followed my passion every single time, and I followed great people, and I followed a great project. But in a way, an aggregation of these experiences weaved in this life journey gives me really fantastic way to be who I am, where I am right now. And so so the journey, as I mentioned, accidental. No one could have predicted that. However, this is how we are here. But from the perspective of why Sputnik, why here, why now, we've actually, this is I think 7th year in existence, and the core belief that led to conviction of starting this business was that the talent could be everywhere. Opportunity is not distributed evenly. And you could take that statement demographically, geographically, psychographically, whichever way you would do that. In the world of venture, there is a perpetuated belief that it could only be done within a 50-mile radius of the Silicon Valley by investing in the people and by and large the guys in black hoodies that gone to Stanford. And I love Stanford. I think like there will be fantastic startups that have been founded by the people that look and sound exactly like them that are going to change our world. And I want to support that. But my belief, because that wasn't my journey, is that there will be other people equally talented that come from different beliefs, from different perspectives, that could create companies just as powerful as they do. But no one was actively seeking them. And Austin was beginning to show some indications of the ecosystem that could sustain that, to become that center. And when we started this in 2018, there were some really fantastic investors here, but not nearly enough of us. So what we do, we focus on seeking the future unicorn founders, investing in them and training them to be that, really specifically focusing outside of the valley, because I think that's where the market is largely underserved, yet there is a lot of talent that exists there.
That is a great story. And I absolutely love that mission. And looking at kind of the talent you serve, who primarily is your ideal client? Like if I were to walk in your doors or check you out online, or how would I know I'd be a good fit for you?
Okay, that's a great question, and I think that's like every business should know that. So for us, it's nerdy founders, and when I say nerdy, I mean really they could be like conventionally nerdy, but really deep experts in their field that lived their problem deeply, that have experienced the pain that is forcing them to create a company that could change that for the better. And if they're deep experts in their field with a world-changing idea, they have a product and a customer, then they could be Sputnik portfolio company. In the world of venture, and I think it's really interesting because I know a lot of your audience are entrepreneurs, and my belief, Kay, entrepreneurs are heroes, but there are different sorts of entrepreneurial journeys, and it is very difficult to create a business. It's very meaningful to create something where nothing was before, but there are a variety of journeys. And in the venture journey, you're starting small, but your aspiration is to get to be super big. And that's the whole meaning. Like if you were to look at examples of that, look at the S&P 500 top 10 companies by market capitalization. I would say at least 7 of them any given week, any given day did not exist 30 years ago. And someone like me have written them their first check while they're working in the garage on that life-changing idea. You're taking huge disproportionate bets, a lot of risk, but also a very strong conviction to get there. That is a venture company for you. That may be different from a spectacular baker deciding that the magic of her pies should be seen by people outside of a family and opening the bakery next door. Both would be heroes. Both will, I want them both in my life, but I think that unless this baker would choose to then, again, the story of Siete, for instance, which is a fantastic gluten-free set of products that let out that need, if they were to stay a neighborhood tortilla store, they would have been heroes, but they would have been a small business hero, versus if what they've done was a spectacular journey to be a unicorn. They've chosen a lot of risk to scale, and now you could buy them in every HEB and in every Whole Foods and like whatever. And for those of you who are not from Texas, HEB is our beloved grocery store.
I love HEB. Oh, well, thank you for clarifying that, because that really shows like the
Yeah.
character you're going, or like that type of client. So are you working venture capitalism in across a variety of industries, or are
Yeah,
you focused
we
on
are.
certain
Yeah.
ones?
Across variety of industries, you have to have that ambition. I have to believe if everything else goes right, you could be that unicorn because of the economics of how my industry works. Because I come in very early, I take a very small equity in your company, and I only make money when you make a lot of money. And that does not make it the only business model, but that makes it such that I should be funding only people that go there, and I should be skipping over the lovely bakery owner that is creating some magic. I will be a huge supporter of her business, but in a very different fashion, right? And that's important. So when we talk about my ICP, it's not just the product deserves to exist. It could be from any industry, but it also has to be that the scale could be big. In terms of the industries, honestly, we've done a variety of things. We've funded AI, and we funded the decentralized finance and blockchain. We funded some really amazing fuel cell technology. We funded some nanoparticle additives. So we've done very nerdy on the one end of the spectrum, and we also have invested in US as category leader in Filipino sauces. So we span the gamut, because at the early stage of the company, later you have to specialize, but at the early stage, and we are usually the first professional investor. If you look at the cap tables of the companies we've invested, we're usually the first money after friends and family. It doesn't matter as much in what industry you operate. It matters a lot how you're thinking about your product, how you're thinking about interacting with customers, how you're thinking about building up your team. And there is a lot more similarity there than one would believe in the from the very beginning. We operate, if you think about it, I don't know whether it's going to be a visual, but imagine the plane taking off and then cruising. The bulk of our business focus and business knowledge is on that cruising. And that's where, if you go to business school, most likely that's what you will learn. We specialize on the takeoff, on the craziest part of the liftoff. That's where we live.
What a fun part of the journey. That's the part I thrive on too. So I think it's really cool that you're doing that. And I know with a company comes a great team. So I'd love to learn about the team you have and what the culture's like. So how many team members do you currently have, and what is your company culture like?
We have right now 14 members and a lot of supporters, because it takes a village to grow a company. And one of the things we've done remarkably well is we've cultivated the network of the people that have done this road without the support. And right now that includes 70 plus of our alumni, but also a lot of the business leaders and business builders and venture capitalists there. So it's our core team in serving our customers, supported and advised by basically some of the top business elite that lives in the city. And that's the only way to make this stick. As respect to the culture, because we'll live 10 years in the future, it's very democratic. We're very results oriented. We believe that we could do serious things without taking ourselves too seriously. And we are showing up. The core tenet of our culture is we are showing up to be of service to our portfolio company. And it literally is in the name, Kay. I don't know whether you... So Sputnik, the reason it's called Sputnik is because we announced about ourselves on the 60th anniversary of the Sputnik launch, and it carried the analogy of Sputnik had showed to all of us what the humanity could do. Like, this was the first bold statement into space. And there is a metaphor sitting in the very name. That's what we would like our companies to do. We want them to be that bold. But the second thing, which is equally important, Sputnik translates as a partner. So that literally means someone that is followed you through the journey. And with that, that's how we behave to our portfolio companies, and that's built in our name, it's built in our business model, and that absolutely is built in our culture. So we do our best to, like, people that work for us are brilliant. And we've had some interns that went to work on the remarkable, like, brilliant people. But it's in this culture of service. I show up to work to make my portfolio, not make myself better, make my portfolio companies better. And if you come and show up to work and you want to be a star and it's about you, you will absolutely not fit in, because this is not what we're about, and it's literally coded in our name.
That's powerful. And that shows, like, exactly, that's a golden nugget of this conversation, especially when it comes to team building and growing a team for our listeners to just take that thought and look at that as, it's a we situation, not a I situation, right?
Absolutely, always. And that goes for everyone we bring in, because there are a lot of, in the venture space industry, there are a lot of advisors that exist to advise, to take advantage of the company. And we work with people that are first and foremost about making them better. And then, of course, economics of business relation comes after that. That makes sense, but it's not, it's missionary, not mercenary. And I think that goes for a lot of the approach, and how we view the world.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And, kind of looking at, I love to share the kind of the in between of where you started and where you are now. What is something maybe early on in your days, or maybe even now, a challenge that you were faced with in business that you overcame?
Oh God, that probably should be the whole different 20 minutes of the podcast. I think, like, listen, the thing that drives me nuts, and I take a lot of effort to really clear that for the portfolio companies. If you look at the media, you're gonna see that people build the business creation as this unending hop of victories, like, and successes and brilliant ideas that culminate with this fantastic boom over the IPO, which all of course happens very, very quickly with pretty pictures on Instagram. And that's the story of literally no one I know. Because I like, and I think that, like, so every business leader, like, like, as a startup launching startups, as I, not only it's my ups and downs that I live, and it's also like that of every one of my startup founders, which happens literally every day. And I think the biggest challenge to overcome, I'm gonna call it mental, the biggest challenge is a bit like in tennis, where you stay in neutral and you don't get overly excited about uh, your victories and the headlines, but you don't get overly disappointed about um, the blowbacks, because they happen all the time. And you basically wake up, there are some core things that you do that make you you, and you show up and you fight another day. So to me, like, I could go like, listen, just even getting to US was a challenge. Like, my life is fraught with challenges that I live every day of my life. So I think there are too many to list. And this industry, building something from scratch in one of the most difficult venture and funding environment that we've existed, like that alone could be a huge challenge.
Mm.
But I think the biggest learning from that, and like literally, like, English not being my first language and learning to be at ease speaking to you like this, definitely a challenge. Writing, I still, like, when I do write, I have like really high standards and I joke low skills. So like working on that every day. The challenges are plenty. What you do with that is the magic. And I think that I think is probably one of the things that I enjoy about my world, as well as maybe the principle that I've created early in my life is I could go to bed in the evening firing myself, and I could hire myself next morning. I'll reinvent who I am, because the challenges are every day. What you do with those challenges, how you internalize them, is what will determine whether you're going to walk through this life with joy, and whether you're going to get to the next place that will give you this victory. And the social media just highlights these little peaks, and it
Mhm.
doesn't show you this really crazy roller coaster, where, by the way, it curving up is anything but guaranteed. Um,
Yeah, you answered it so beautifully. It's so true. I mean, I don't know any entrepreneurs that have the journey just go straight up, or there's peaks and valleys and starting over, and
um,
that I always look at the iceberg analogy when you see the tip of the iceberg and everybody's like, oh, it's so shiny and bright, and they don't see what's underneath it all, the work, the heartache, the starting over and resiliency that's built with
Not,
entrepreneurs.
not knowing where your next month's paycheck had come from, like, not like, losing your top customer, having the regulations go against you, like, you name it, I probably lived that. And I think and my portfolio companies did as well. And I think the only guarantee is you're going to have them. I really don't know what they will be today or tomorrow. It's just learning to stay neutral and savor the moment, and be curious about life and the possibility of change and improvement, so that you start with the next day.
Oh, definitely. That is such great advice, and something to remember. Kind of looking at where you want to take your business. Where do you see your company going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Great question. And I ponder this all the time. Um, we live through our portfolio startups. So I think I would like, like the supporting them so that they get to their highest horizon will be extremely satisfying and definitely part of my future for the next 3 to 5 years. But scaling on Sputnik's possibility, because what we've learned is we could build a micro ecosystem that will create unicorn level companies literally from scratch. And we do not create them, our founders create them. And I think taking that broader is a definitive dream, and something it's worth waking up to, because the concept of talent is everywhere and opportunity is not distributed evenly is bigger than me, bigger than Austin. And and we've learned a lot on how to do this well at this very early takeoff stage that I think is not only money producing, but I don't know, like destiny changing for some of the geographies. And I think I would like to see more of that. I would like to be part of that. And that would be my horizon.
Absolutely. And do you see anything that is currently like a roadblock or something that's holding you back, or something like if you could wave a magic wand in your business that you would change overnight?
Um, Look, I think the magic one question for anyone in the venture industry is this. It may be a little bit structural, and a lot less money is going into our sector right now because we as a sector had hold on to it too long and we have not returned it to the investors. It simply takes longer to grow a big company. It does not happen overnight, and nothing we do could change that. And it's not a big magic one, because I know we will overcome this as a Sputnik, as an industry, because we create so much goodness, all of these fundamental fundamental investments that meaningfully change life for the better. But it's a very serious roadblock en route to innovation that I think I would love to change. Another thing, as a Ukrainian born US citizen, the war in Ukraine is cuts deeply. So this is not from my business, but my heart goes out for my country of birth. I'm from Kyiv, and I would definitely use a magic wand strike to end that, so that Ukraine could thrive and maybe build something like Sputnik there, because there is a spectacular talent. So I'm gonna give you one more trivial one and another one that is I don't know, historic as my magic wand wishes, but I'll leave you with those.
Thank you for sharing those. And I agree with you, especially with to end the war going on, is that would be huge. I agree with you.
I want kindness to prevail. I think like we could be kind and we could be decent, we could be civil, and I think we could go about this world is bigger than any one of us. And I would love for the and that I think is like, like driving from kindness at every level of leadership would make this world a lot better place.
Agreed. Agreed. That I think is the my favorite quote of this episode so far. Looking at all we talked about, thank you for sharing everything. And now I want to go into our fun Q&A. It is our rapid fire questions where I'm going to be asking you 3 questions that you answer very top of mind. So, are you ready for some rapid fire?
Let's go.
All right. Question number 1 is, what is the key to success for you?
Curiosity and ability to be reborn, like forget about what happened yesterday and wake up as a new person. So I think those two things are the key.
Definitely. And number 2 is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Give yourself grace. You're doing better than you think you are.
That one hits for me personally. I need that. And number 3 is, what is it could be a book, a podcast, an article, just anything that's resonated with you recently?
I'm a huge fan of Tim Ferriss's podcast and the books he writes. I think I'm gonna go. It's not a recent thing, but it's something on my bed that table, just in terms of the ability to bring in, he has a miraculous way of bringing the wisdom from the various spheres, from fitness to business to investors, and make something that I could deploy literally tomorrow. And I always enjoy both listening to him and reading this. His Tools of Titans is literally my bedside, because it's a collection of small advice from very different but very highly accomplished people. And you don't know where learning from the world is amazing opportunity and an amazing growth option that we forget to take. And I think he's really great at distilling the minimal viable dose of that advice and bringing it to people and going to deep. So I always enjoy that. On a less serious note, I just came back from vacation and I let myself for the first time ever read a silly fiction. Like I was always like being with Rebecca Yarros and her like dragons and love stories and like some kind of like wars, and just being lost in that had reminded me that reading is not always serious. Sometimes you just need an escape, and really grateful for that trilogy. However, not the most serious literature I've ever read, and not probably like, I don't know, like, but really enjoyable and gave me that escape. So I'm gonna give you with those two.
Those are great. I agree. Sometimes it does. It takes a just like a little, sometimes a brain break, or just to read something a
Yeah.
little a lighter or mystery or something like that.
And I think to me, like reading something that is super light is part of me learning to give myself some grace. It's not always about self-improvement. Sometimes it's just like, yep, this feels good and I'm gonna read it.
Yes. Oh, well, this has been such a fun conversation. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can folks connect with you and your business online?
Uh, um, our website, sputnikatx.com. My social media, I have a super secret email, Oksana at sputnikatx.com. So like that also works. I do read my own email, even though sometimes I get overwhelmed. I'm on Instagram. We could provide the monikers Oksana M at ATX. And we'd love to hear from you, particularly right now. Our applications are open through June 29th. I don't know when this will go live, but if you building a life-changing business and you think that you're going to need that investment and that know-how and you want to be working super hard and be part of a tribe, we'd love to hear from you. I'm doing a ton of office hours between now and then to answer people's questions, and I would love to help you build your unicorn.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I will definitely put that in our show notes too for this episode, that if it does launch before the 29th, and get that out there. I think that's huge, especially that unicorn. It's like it's waiting. Like there's so many people with these great ideas, and sometimes it just takes that action step, just fill out the application or take
Yeah.
that step. Even if it seems like a long distance away, it's always like,
Long distance away, you never know what you will learn. And even our application, I've heard from many people that even the process of applying had taught them about their business and made their business better, because serving the startup community is literally in our name.
definitely. Well, thank you so much, Oksana. Our final question for today is, what is most inspiring to you today?
God, that's such a good question. And I think many things come to mind, but I'm gonna go with my children. I think because they're getting into young adulthood and they're starting in their own journey, and seeing bits of myself and seeing the bravery, the curiosity, the growth, the fearlessness, the consideration. I think I learn from them every day, and I don't tell them that nearly enough. So let this be here.
Oh, that is inspiring. This has been such a great conversation. Thank you for your time today on the Business Spotlight.
Yeah, thank you, Kay, so much. It had been so fun, and good luck with your business.
Thank you.
Cheers.